The Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Roerig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be catching up on House of the Dragon and The Boys. We've got, I believe, 5 episodes of The Boys and 3 episodes of House of the Dragon we're going to catch up on. And then after that, next week we're going to be covering the next episode of each of those shows. So we're going to be going week to week after this, but we have to catch up in the meantime. In addition to that, we have our On the Horizon segment, and we have an On Beat segment with a lot of casting news and several trailers that we're going to go over. Let's get started with On the Horizon. On the Horizon. On the Horizon. On the Horizon is where we talk about stuff coming up in the next week or so, and we're going to start things off with Sunny, which is an adaptation of The Dark Manual. This is starring Rashida Jones, and it's billed as a dark mystery comedy, and that's going to be coming on Wednesday, July 10th to Apple TV+. I guess it's their next high-profile show.
I'm all for Rashida Jones comedies, so yeah.
Next up, we have something that you're super excited for, I'm sure.
No.
Sausage Party Foodtopia, which is coming on Thursday, July 11th to Amazon Prime.
That's a skip.
Just remember, in the trailer for Sausage Party Foodtopia, they control a human and a bird by going inside their buttholes.
Oh, man. Yep.
Hot dogs controlling people by going inside their buttholes. And the Emmy goes to.
Right, yeah. And the Oscar goes to. We don't give Oscars to TV shows, but when we saw this, we just had to start.
That is coming on Thursday, July 11th to Amazon Prime. Also on Thursday, July 11th, Vikings Valhalla is returning for, I believe it's its 2nd season. I haven't watched it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, same.
Then on Friday, July 12th, Exploding Kittens comes to Netflix. This is being produced by Mike Judge and the creator of the game Exploding Kittens. And it stars the dude from Lucifer, I guess, is playing the god Kitten.
Yeah.
So that's coming on Friday, July 12th to Netflix. The Serpent Queen is coming Friday, July 12th to Starz. So I don't know if you're even aware of this, but there are all of these series that have aired on Starz. There's one called like The White Queen and then The White Princess, and then they had like The Spanish Queen, and they're all on Starz, and they're all basically about their historical fiction. Basically, I know I think so, kind of. I know The White Queen and The White Princess are definitely connected, and that they're based on the War of the Roses.
Oh, okay.
Which is what, Game of Thrones is based on. But this is like a historical, like, retelling or something. Like historical
this isn't like the concept of
the
War of the Roses transposed to a fantasy universe.
No. This is just, it's just the actual War of the Roses. I'm not sure about the other ones. I saw The White Queen. I haven't seen any of the other ones. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird that they have all these Queen series that are all like about royalty from like the Middle Ages,
Right.
Yeah. The Freddie Mercury Queen is the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
The Mercurial Queen is what they call it. Then also on Friday, July 12th, Longlegs is coming to theaters. This is long anticipated. Nicolas Cage been talking this one up big time, saying it's like a really big deal. I think early previews have spoken very well about it. The trailer for it now has critic blurbs on it, the new trailer, and it's all like, this is the scariest movie in the last decade and stuff like that. So a lot of hype going in for this scary movie. And that's coming to theaters on Friday, July 12th. Also coming to theaters on Friday, July 12th is Fly Me to the Moon. And this is about the moon landing and NASA and all the, conspiracies about faking the moon landing and other stuff going on. And it's Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum. So that's coming to theaters also on Friday, July 12th. And that is our On the Horizon segment. And now we're moving on to On Beat. On Beat. On Beat is our news segment, and we're going to start off with some casting stories. We're going to start with One Piece. So we last week talked about some One Piece castings that were all for characters that are Brokeworks characters, which are like the villains of the Alabasta arc in the manga and anime. We haven't gotten there yet with the live action one, but we got the castings for them. This week, we got some more characters that come from an arc that happens before that mostly, and then some stuff that happens kind of around that. So to explain it like lightly without going too esoteric or too into the weeds on it, I should say, the first major arc of One Piece is the Alabasta arc. That's like the first like big, like super long arc in One Piece. And like that arc starts before the official arc starts. Like kind of like you start seeing the characters start weaving into it before you actually get to that specific arc. And so you see some of these characters are from arcs that happen after those characters will be introduced, but they're before that main arc. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's like sub arcs within this bigger arc, you know, and there's like little elements of the Alabasta arc that start to come into focus throughout those. And so the casting we got now is kind of covering some of that. So I actually thought the character of Smoker and Tashigi, who were both cast, Callum Kerr from Monarch playing Smoker and Julia Rewald of Fear Street playing Tashigi, I thought they were going to be in the first season. I thought the first season was going to end with them going to the Grand Line. And like right before they go to the Grand Line, there's a really important arc, a very short but important arc called like Logetown. And those two characters debut there. And they're interesting characters. If you have watched the One Piece live action series, the teaser at the very end where you see a guy with two cigars looking at Luffy's wanted poster, that's Smoker. But he wasn't cast yet. Like we just got him cast now. So he's there. Callum Kerr as Smoker, Julia Rewald as Tashigi. Rob Coletti was cast as Wapple. He's a villain of the Drum Island arc. That's the arc where we meet Tony Chopper, the reindeer character that's going to be like CG or something, I'm sure, or a puppet. I'm not sure how they plan on doing that. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to be one of those. He's being played by Rob Coletti from The Many Saints of Newark, which was the Sopranos prequel movie that HBO put out. I think that was one of the movies when HBO was doing the day and date with theater thing. You remember that?
Yeah,
like Dune was one of those as well, but I think that was one of those movies as well. And then Tai Kyo from Black Sails is going to be playing Dalton, who I'm not sure, I don't remember 100%. He's either a character in the Drum Island arc, the same arc as Wapple, or he's from the Alabasta arc. He's a character from one of those. I just don't remember which. So that's One Piece casting. It's sounding interesting. I'm just curious how much they're going to cover, because the first season went at a breakneck pace. It went through like the arcs really, really fast. But you're getting into like bigger arcs now with like the second season, like I said, the Alabasta arc, you know? And I'm wondering if they're going to do the Alabasta arc or if they're going to like set up for the Alabasta arc, and then that'll be like season 3. But I'm curious about that. If certain other castings end up coming out, then that might kind of shed light on that, what's happening there. But yeah, right now I'm excited to see One Piece season 2, because first season was surprisingly good for something that you never would have thought would have been doable.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
Then we also got casting news for Sandman season 2. So the castings we got here, I don't really know too terribly much about Sandman, but we know that Dream's son Orpheus has been cast by Rory O'Connor from The Spanish Princess. That's one of those I had mentioned before, that all the princess ones, and I was talking on the Horizon segment. The Spanish Princess is one of them. He was in that.
Right.
Freddie Fox, he just debuted in House of the Dragons as Sir Gawain Hightower, Alicent's brother. So in the most recent episode of House of the Dragon, that was the new character there. We'll be playing Loki. We all know who that character is, even if we don't follow Sandman. As we all also know who Odin is, who will be played by Clive Russell, who was in Game of Thrones. He was the Blackfish. He was the Tully that was Catelyn's brother. So Ned Stark's brother-in-law, basically. The black sheep of the Tully family. He'll be playing Odin. Lawrence O'Farren is from The Witcher Blood Origin, is playing Thor. Another character we all know by name, even if we don't know Sandman. And Skelly from The Nevers is playing Nuala. I have no idea who that is. Douglas Booth from Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is playing Clurakin or Clurakin. Yeah, these pronunciations are killing me. Don't know who that is. This one's interesting though. Jack Gleason from Game of Thrones. That's Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones is going to be playing Puck. And what's interesting here is that I thought he had retired from acting.
Yeah,
I thought he was pretty much done. So I guess he's coming back for Sandman season 2.
He's back in the game.
Yeah, and he'll be playing Puck, which is another well-known character, you know, even if you don't know him from Sandman. Well-known character from mythology, I should say.
Yeah, exactly.
And then trans actress India Moore from Pose is going to be playing Wanda. I don't know anything about that character. I don't know if the character is trans in the comics. I have no idea. And Steve Coogan, that's like a one recognizable name, from Tropic Thunder, is going to be playing Barnabas, or the voice of Barnabas, I should say. Then Knight of the Seven Kingdom casting. So Knight of the Seven Kingdom, for anybody who doesn't know, is the next Game of Thrones spinoff. We got Game of Thrones, we got House of the Dragon, Knight of the Seven Kingdom is the next one. We've mentioned this show before. We've mentioned the main cast in this before and who was cast for that. But some more people were cast, some more Targaryens, some more like people from other notable houses and stuff. Finn Bennett from The Nevers was cast as Aeron Targaryen. Bertie Carvel from Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is going to be playing Baelor Targaryen, a really famous Targaryen name. If you've watched Game of Thrones, you've heard that name, Baelor. You've heard of the Sept of Baelor, for example. Sam Spruill from Fargo, from the most recent episode of Fargo, where he played Ule Munk, or Ol Munch, as John Hamm's character called him, is going to be playing Maekar Targaryen, who's the king during this point of time in the story. Daniel Ings from Black Mirror is going to be playing Sir Lionel Baratheon. We get a Baratheon in there. Mm-hmm. And Tanzin Crawford from Servant is going to be playing Tenzel. I have no idea who that is, but that's another casting story.
Nice.
So that is it for our regular news, and now we're moving on to trailers. So quite a few trailers dropped. We're going to talk about some of them here. First one, Flight Risk. So this is Mark Wahlberg playing a guy trying to assassinate a witness that's on a plane. He's like the pilot for the plane, but he's secretly an assassin. Yeah. Sent to kill this witness.
Well, he's not the pilot of the plane. He killed the pilot.
Well, but he is a pilot.
Right.
He knows how to fly. That's like part of this. That's the story.
Right. Yeah. Like the story is like he assassinated like the actual pilot of the plane, and he's there to kill like I guess this like witness who's supposed to testify against the mob boss.
But like the marshal or whoever that's like quartering this witness stops him and has him like chained up, but now it's like they don't have a pilot. The only pilot they have is this guy, this assassin.
Yeah, so they kind of like need his help at the same time. And that leads to like a lot of tension and shenanigans.
I think there's two really interesting things about this trailer. One, Mark Wahlberg is bald.
Yes, bald Mark Wahlberg. Bold choice.
It looks very strange. And the other thing is that this is a Mel Gibson directed movie, and they skated around that hard in the trailer. They don't want to say his name. They said, from the director of Braveheart and Apocalypto. It's like, yeah, that's Mel Gibson. They're not going to say his name, I guess, because they don't want all the baggage that comes with that. But it's just kind of crazy that they announce his accomplishments, but won't say his name. I just thought that was kind of weird and interesting.
Yeah, it is a weird thing to do.
But that's Flight Risk. We also got a trailer for the Duel. This looks interesting. The premise is basically, it's like old-fashioned duels, except like modern. It's like people in modern times and they decide that they're going to duel each other with pistols.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like these two guys, I guess they're fighting over a woman, and I guess like there's like this society for like dueling. It's like set up as like this like really old school like dueling that they end up going to like settle their beef. It's a really bizarre looking movie.
Yeah, just a really interesting concept of like, you know, if there was a society that held up dueling, you know, for some reason. Interesting concept movie. It'll be fun to see how that turns out. Then we got a trailer for Trap. We've talked about this before. This is the new M. Night Shyamalan movie starring Josh Hartnett. the good thing about this trailer, we didn't really get more information per se, but what we did get is like the actual tone of the movie. Because in the first trailer, we just found out kind of like the premise. So what the base premise is. Oh, the serial killer is lured to a concert. He takes his daughter to this concert, and they're going, and the police and everybody, they're surrounding the concert, and they're going to like use it to trap this killer.
Yeah.
And the main character is the killer.
Yeah.
We're following the killer who realizes
Yeah.
that they've set a trap for him, and now he has to figure out a way out of it.
Right, yeah.
But what we're getting here in this trailer is more of the tone, which it looks like he's a killer that kind of was just doing his killings out of his own sick compulsion. And now, like, this whole event, this whole thing that's been orchestrated to capture him has, like, made him feel like he's never felt so alive, basically. He's in a cat and mouse game, and he's loving it. And that's something we didn't really get from the first trailer. We just kind of realized, oh, he's being hunted, and we're following it from his perspective. And now we're getting the tone that he's, like, into it, you know? Which is the most interesting aspect about it that we've learned. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be a big twist. It is M. Night Shyamalan. I think he doesn't really have to do that anymore, and might have moved away from that, but it'll be interesting to see. Like, it's an interesting concept just to have, you know, a cat and mouse game where our protagonist is the serial killer, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. It's going to have the usual M. Night Shyamalan twist to it, I'm sure.
We'll see, because I don't know what it would be. Like, it kind of seems like the twist is in the concept. So it'll be interesting to see if there's something else besides that.
Yeah, there's definitely something else going on. They're not going to give the game away in the initial trailers, yeah.
Next up, we got a trailer for Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 1, which is annoying that they're splitting it into 3 parts, but
yeah,
well,
it's
whatever.
so stupid.
Whatever, we're getting our first part of Season 6 soon, and this is all kind of the setup for the upcoming tournaments. So my guess is that we're not getting the tournament in this part, and this is all going to be about them getting ready for the tournament, because they have 2 other parts. So, so we're seeing a lot of stuff here. Nothing really new, not like a lot of new information or anything. It just looks great. It's Cobra Kai. It looks great. Can't wait. I'm excited for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Next up, we got a trailer for Brando, Stone, and the New World. This was interestingly released on the YouTube account of Childish Gambino, which is Donald Glover's, like, account for his rap career. And
yeah,
the reason that's being done is because this movie, the entire soundtrack is being done by Childish Gambino, and it's also Childish Gambino's last album, apparently. He's decided that he's done. He's pulling a Quentin Tarantino.
Like, he's done with Childish Gambino?
I guess so. I mean, that's what I read about it. He's just decided he's moving on in his career.
Right. Fair enough to him.
And so the soundtrack for this movie is his last album for Childish Gambino, but it's also just like a really cool looking, like, post-apocalyptic sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
With like a really cool effect going on. It's like aliens, and they're like aliens or something, and they're like abducting or removing people using like lasers or something.
Yeah, there's like the scene where there's like lasers, like a laser grid chasing them. It's cool. It looks like it's kind of like a parody of like those things where, like, we've seen all these movies recently about some apocalyptic event happens, and there's like this antagonistic otherworldly force that the survivors have to like hide from, kind of make their way. And so it's
they have to hide in some quiet place.
They usually like have
maybe in a bird box.
And they usually have like a child that they're taking care of or something. It's so like, it's that, right? It's got that character, that survivor, who's like trying to survive the apocalypse, and she's got this child with her. But then we just like got Donald Glover's character, who's like this completely inept goofball that ends up joining her.
Yeah, he's a singer.
Yeah,
he has like no other skills.
He has no skills. And apparently also like no common sense.
Yeah, so that is coming. We got that trailer looks good. Next we got a trailer for Kite Man. Hell yeah. Still, I need to catch up on Harley Quinn, because I know you haven't seen it, but Harley Quinn's is the R-rated kind of style animated series about Harley Quinn. It's DC related. It's got Batman and it's got the Joker in it, but it's like much more mature content, much darker. It's kind of almost surprising that it exists as like an official thing. And this is like a spin-off of that. It's following the character of Kite Man, who was in the Harley Quinn series. series. He was Poison Ivy's boyfriend in like the first season.
Right.
And just a completely weirdo, useless villain character. It's like in Harley Quinn, it's just all these villain characters, and Kite Man's just like got the most absurd, stupid ability or theme that just makes no sense. And they played on that in the first season that I saw, and I'm sure in the other seasons as well. And here it's kind of like Cheers, because it's him taking over a bar and running a bar, and a bunch of supervillains visiting this bar. So it's got kind of like almost like a weird like Cheers vibe to it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I got to catch up on Harley Quinn before I watch this, obviously, because it looks like it directly connects. But yeah, I mean, Harley Quinn was good, what I saw of it, and this looks like it'll be funny as well.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Next up, we got a trailer for Hellboy, The Crooked Man, which, did you know this existed, that this movie was in development or anything?
I knew because I heard of it a while back, but I completely forgot it was a thing until I saw the trailer.
This just like blindsided me.
Yeah,
there's a Hellboy
that's
movie?
being made.
There's
I
another
saw the
Hellboy
trailer.
movie?
I'm like, oh yeah, that's still being made.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
Unfortunately, it looks pretty low budget. Doesn't look like it's up to the quality standards of the other movies.
And not low budget in that like good way where they have like a really competent new director making a name for themselves on a low budget kind of thing. Low budget in that completely generic bad direction. Visual aesthetic is just kind of garbage. Lighting doesn't look good. The locations don't look good. The sound doesn't even sound like it's like being done at like a really high quality level. It's just, I don't know, man. This looks like a straight to DVD movie to me.
It does. Looks like straight to streaming or whatever.
What was that company? Was it Asylum that made all those like...
The one thing that's gonna save this is if the story is like really good. And I mean, it's based on like one of the best Hellboy stories. It's got the direct involvement of Mike Mignola, which is like positive. I don't think Hellboy himself looks bad in this. I'm gonna need to see like a lot more to like judge like the actor because
he's not selling it yet.
I mean, it's again, and you get so little in this trailer that's like really hard to judge. The rest of it kind of like it looks like really like low budget horror movie. And so like I'm kind of like on the thing like I need to see the finished product because the story's good. If the leads pull it off, it could be good. If they don't, like it's going to be like another disaster.
This
and
looks
that's
like an unmitigated
disaster
to me.
That's where I'm at.
This looks like an example.
I'm willing
of,
to give it a shot.
This is like Stephen King hated The Shining because it changed things from his book, even though it was a Stanley Kubrick movie and it was amazing. You know, like he didn't like it because of how it adapted his book. And so Stephen King really championed heavily his miniseries that he made like in the 90s.
Yeah, with the guy from Wings.
Yeah.
What's his name? Yeah, I remember that when they were like
Steven Weber? Is it Weber?
Steven Weber, yeah. I forgot what network aired that. I want to say
ABC.
Fox. Oh, was it ABC? Okay.
ABC did all of those miniseries.
The miniseries stuff,
The Tommy Knockers and all those ones.
Oh, yeah, Tommy Knockers, yeah. Because, like, I remember them really heavily promoting it, and then it came out, like, I watched it, like, it was just goofy as hell.
Yeah, that's kind of what this makes me think of. It's got the direct involvement of the guy who wrote Hellboy, so it's like, so this should be good. It's like, yeah, that's not the only piece of the puzzle.
No, obviously not.
You need a competent hand at the helm, you know?
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, this does not look to be that.
Unfortunately.
But we'll have to wait and see when this comes out on whatever direct-to-video service it comes out on. Lastly, our last trailer we had was for Jackpot. This is a new movie coming to Amazon Prime, and it stars John Cena and Aquafina, not the bottle of water, the comedian / rapper / actress.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out to me, Simu Liu is in this as well.
Yes. So it's like a Shang-Chi reunion.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting concept. Basically, it's like The Purge meets like a movie where somebody wins the lottery.
It's The Purge meets like it's a mad world.
Or The Purge meets The Most Dangerous Game.
Maybe. I think like it's a mad world like makes sense because like it's like all these people huge cast of characters all freaking out about this treasure. And it's kind of like that, but like the treasure is like if they kill this woman.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
It's like a futuristic movie. It takes place in the future, and it's like initially sets up just kind of like, oh, it's just like, typical vapid Hollywood type story. I don't mean like the movie's vapid. I mean like the main character is like an actress, and she's like returning to Hollywood to try to like make another shot, make another go.
Yeah.
She never succeeded, and now she's trying to make another go at it. And then she finds out she won the lottery, and she's like, oh, what? I won the lottery. What the hell? And then all of a sudden everyone's trying to kill her.
Yeah. And then apparently like there are protection agencies or like for jackpot winners. It wasn't made explicit if John Cena's part of like an agency or if he's like a freelancer or like what he's doing.
Well, it's like he doesn't get hired by her.
No, he doesn't. He just shows up.
Because he's kind of letting her know what's going on because she doesn't have any. She's like, what the hell? Why are they going to kill me?
Yeah, she doesn't know the situation. He just shows up, but he seems like to be by himself. While Simu Liu, like he clearly establishes himself like he's the head of a protection agency for jackpot winners, and it's clear like he has like his own agenda, but he's like trying to present himself as like, oh, I would be the better choice, and like he has like a whole team of people with him, and it's just like John Cena just seems to be by himself. So I'm kind of like, oh, what's that situation? And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's I like the concept that it's called Paul Feig is directing it. It's interesting, and they also, did you watch to the end of the trailer where they announced that they're actually doing an actual, like, jackpot, like, sweepstakes?
Yeah, but it's like nothing special. It's like a bunch of Buffalo Wild Wings chicken wings. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess if you live near a Buffalo Wild Wings and you like it, it's...
Yeah, I suppose.
They also said a solid gold bar, I think, too.
No, I think they said a solid gold bar's worth of chicken wings.
Oh.
Is what they said. Yeah, specifically. Yeah.
I thought they said but I don't know.
No, they just said it's a solid gold bar. It's the way they said it because they said it's a solid gold bar and then like worth of chicken wings from Buffalo Wild Wings. Like that.
So if you're into B-dubs, look up the trailer and
yeah, and enter and you'll get more chicken wings than you could eat. They're probably, most of them will probably spoil.
It's a lifetime supply all at once.
Yeah, that's the way like I interpreted it.
I wonder if instead they'll just do something like about like the McDonald's black card. There's like a card that some people have that basically gets them free McDonald's at any McDonald's location, whatever they want.
Oh, nice.
And very few people have this card, and amongst them are like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have this card. So the richest men in the world.
Yeah.
Meals.
People who don't need free meals from McDonald's obviously get free meals. It's so dumb. That's gonna be a whole rant. Don't get me on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that, but I kind of wonder, are they gonna do like a B-dubs like black card? Is that how they're gonna do it? Or are they just gonna straight up like drop off at the guy's house like a metric ton of fucking chicken wings?
They said it's a gold bar's worth, so like it's not unlimited. It's not like free forever.
Yeah.
It's just until you meet the value of chicken wings that's equal to like a gold bar. They didn't even specify like
you just get like a straight up gift card to B-dubs for like fucking $10,000.
They didn't specify like the size or the weight of the gold bar either.
Well, there's a standard gold bar measurement.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Let's see, what is the value of a gold bar?
$2 in today's economy. Sad.
I looked it up and I'm only seeing by the ounce prices.
Yeah.
But gold is worth $2,338 per ounce. So if it's a 1 ounce bar, it's like over $2,000 of B-dubs. But so that's jackpot, and that's the end of our trailers and the end of our On Beat segment. And that leaves only full spoilers. But we have a big full spoiler segment this week because we're going to be talking about 2 shows and quite a few episodes of each show.
2 shows for the price of 1.
We're going to be talking about the first 5 episodes of The Boys Season 4 and the first 3 episodes of House of the Dragon Season 2. Let's start with The Boys. So the problem that I think we've both had with The Boys in past seasons is it just kind of has that treading water effect where like the first season was really great and then the second season you're like, oh, it's going to escalate from here. And then it just kind of de-escalated instead. And you have to basically go through the whole process again of like setting up the story, and all the stakes have kind of like re-minimalized, and you have to like get them back into play. And there's good stuff that happens while that's happening, but it just kind of feels like, we're starting over again. And with The Boys, when season 3 ended, we ended up getting a spin-off series, Gen V, which we talked about as well on the podcast. And that kind of crossed over. And now the stuff that kind of got set up in Gen V is set up here. But for like the first time, it feels like it's not doing that kind of treading water shit that the season 2 and season 3 did of The Boys with season 4. It seems like it's jumping in like head first with season 4. Like stuff's happening now, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Seems like we're really escalating now.
I really dug just like the first episode and the way it just jumped right into a scenario.
Yeah.
Like it just jumped right into the boys on a mission.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It just jumped right into the boys trying to take out Victoria Newman. Like, you know, like that's there. They fail like mostly because they didn't realize she was invulnerable on top of her other abilities.
Yeah. So they throw acid at her. They shoot her in the head. And when they shoot her in the head, it just ricochets. It doesn't even just like, you know, heal or something. It ricochets all over. They can't do anything to her. And you find out that this plot is enacted by the top presidential candidate, Robert Singer, who realizes now that his VP is a soup. And so she's basically, he knows that like they win the election and she'll kill him and become president. And then that's the plan, you know? And so he's like,
realize that like he's just a stepping stone, you know, like.
Yeah. So he's like, we need to find a way to kill her because if we don't, then I'm dead, you know? It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And then of course you got.
Which is hilarious. The president's name is Robert Singer.
Yeah.
Bobby Singer. Jim Beaver from who played Bobby Singer on Supernatural, playing Robert Singer on The Boys.
Yeah.
Real fun.
Which is also, I believe, Robert Singer is a combination of two names that were producers on Supernatural.
No, it's just one person. Robert Singer was a producer on Supernatural.
Okay,
so
I thought it was two that were being referenced with it, but I guess it's just one named after that. But I don't think he's a producer on The Boys.
I don't believe so. No, they just
use the name because they have the same actor.
Yeah.
So we got to see finally what Newman's daughter's super ability is. She got that in the last season.
Freaky tentacle mouth.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's very freaky.
Very eldritch horror. Bunch of tentacles shoot out of her mouth and eat things. So that was kind of creepy, and we kind of got all of our characters going on their own little plots now and their own little stories.
Yeah, their own storylines. And then from there, it's just like the boys like retreat, you know, and they regroup, and they're still trying to figure out how they're going to take out Newman. Meanwhile, Homelander is becoming more and more unhinged.
He's aging.
Yeah, he's aging.
He's getting gray pubes.
He's aging, and this is making him anxious to the point he's getting sick of everybody around him.
Mm-hmm. He's surrounded by sycophants, which we already knew, and it's like he created the scenario for that by basically killing anybody that he disagreed with.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he's got a bunch of sycophants around him, and he doesn't understand why. But everyone's terrified of him, so they're all just saying what he wants to hear, what they think he wants to hear. And he's going on his right-wing march to the apocalypse as he's becoming increasingly dissatisfied with everything he thought he wanted. All the power he thought he wanted isn't satisfying him.
So he goes off to recruit someone who won't just tell him what he wants to hear.
Mm-hmm. Sister Sage, who is her power is that she's the smartest living person.
Yeah, smartest living person. She's a riff off of Mr. Terrific from DC Comics, who is like supposed to be like one of the smartest. His power is like being like the smartest man in the world, or at least in DC terms, one of the smartest, because like power scaling in that universe. But yeah, that's like his ability. So like it's clear riff on that.
Yeah, like all the super characters in The Boys are like riffs on existing characters. The Seven is very much Justice League.
Payback
is very much Avengers. Yeah, like characters like The Boys, I think, are somewhat based on, even though they don't all have powers in the comics, they do, are kind of based on X-Men, I think. I know like Kimiko is supposed to be kind of based on Wolverine.
Yeah, Kimiko has like very Wolverine, like, style, like, powers and stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, he recruits Sage, who, we don't know, like, what's going on with that so far. Like, it's interesting because he recruits her because, like, he thinks, like, she's going to, like, keep him focused and tell him what's up. And I think, like, she has her own agenda. Like, I think when Homelander comes to visit her and recruit her, I think she sees an opportunity to enact her own agenda.
We just don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, we don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, and while she's doing that, that leads to a bunch of plots that are kind of framing Starlight in like an antagonistic light against, the Starlighters and the Homelanders, the Homeland.
Oh yeah.
What do they call their group? They had like a thing for Homelander.
Oh, I don't know.
They mentioned that like
homies,
that guy Todd.
Yeah.
Was into some movement. It's called the Home Something Movement.
Yeah, I totally forgot. I'm never remembering unless I look it up. So one of the first things is Sage starts telling Homelander that he has to like essentially perform a coup. He has to essentially like upend the established order and take over. And she starts telling him the best way to do is to just like exploit the division between people. Like exploit the division between the Starlighters and like the people who are for like Homelander.
What this has caused outside of the show is for a bunch of right-wingers that enjoyed The Boys to finally realize that the show has been making fun of them this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's finally crystal clear to the chuds. Only took 4 seasons.
So that's caused a lot of backlash, but as we mentioned last week, it hasn't hurt the success of the show at all.
And so as part of this plot to sow division, to inflame passions, Sage has like a bunch of Homelander fans, including Todd, meet up for like a special meet and greet with Homelander and other members of Seven, and whereas Homelander instructs A-Train and Black Noir in the Deep to kill them.
Black Noir 2, I guess, because
Black Noir 2.
Dead.
Yes, this is a new person in the Black Noir suit.
It's like an actor. It's hilarious because it's an actor playing Black Noir, and he's doing too much and asking for too much like direction.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, what's my motivation in this?"
Like,
and they're like, "Just shut up," and
Yeah, shut. It's like, you're supposed to be quiet and just like be seen. Like we're trying to pretend Black Noir still exists. It's still around. Dummy. It's hilarious too because like it's like they seem like they beat these 3 people, including Todd, to death, and like Black Noir 2, like the guy's like, "Yo, that shit was crazy. Yo, does this happen all the time?"
Yeah, that's like at first it's like, why is Black Noir still around? He's dead. Like, what's going on? And then like that's the first time we hear him talk, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's just hilarious, like what they're doing with that.
Well, all of that's going on. Homelander is also trying to build his relationship with his son, but he's facing issues of like, he's having conflicting feelings about his son, because in one sense he's kind of like jealous because you have all this stuff coming up about his age that's playing into the story and him aging. There's a part where he overhears some like grips on the set of the movie talking about how they have to use VFX to like iron out his wrinkles and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like you could see it like disturbing him and bothering him.
Homelander is becoming like very sensitive about his aging.
Yeah. He's also becoming frustrated with Ryan not just becoming like him like immediately. The fact that Ryan's still good at heart.
I think Homelander is struggling because he can't understand Ryan's humanity. I think he's a sociopath, and he's of this mindset that like he's a god with godlike powers. Humans are nothing, and he sees like Ryan. Ryan has the same abilities, so he sees like Ryan is a god alongside him, and he's like, "You're above these people. Why do you care?"
Mm-hmm.
Like he tries to tell Ryan, "These people are toys for our amusement."
But as I said, there's also like a kind of sense of jealousy that comes up a few times now. Like I mentioned, all the stuff with the people talking about using VFX to take out his wrinkles. It has to do with his aging storyline as well, and his feelings about that. So they're really playing complex feelings on that. This is causing Homelander, as you'd mentioned, to become even more unhinged, and we're getting more of that Green Goblin effect.
Yeah,
where in the Spider-Man movies, where Norman is talking to his helmet and stuff. And here you have Homelander talking to fractured mirrors.
Yeah, he has fractured mirrors. Well, he does that after he has a particular outburst at Ryan for running off and meeting with Butcher behind his back, after he has that outburst with Ryan, he kind of has like a psychic break where it's like, represented by like, the different Homelander voices talking to him in the cracked mirror. And that leads Homelander to go back to his origins.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a really great episode, by the way.
Homelander getting revenge for the people that tortured him as a child.
Yeah.
To try to bring out his abilities and to try to control him. And they bring up the interesting point, which is something we kind of knew before, but I think it's the first time it's been directly stated by a character, which is that Homelander has this obsessive need to be loved.
Yes.
And that's basically the only thing that keeps him in check.
Yeah, that's the only thing that keeps him in check. You've always seen throughout the series, like, he revels in being a celebrity, right? Like, he absolutely revels in it.
Yeah.
Like...
He hates the people that love him, but he needs them to love him.
Yes. Yeah, it's a contradiction.
Yeah.
And
it's very Donald Trump.
It's very Donald Trump, yeah. He wants the adulation. He doesn't care about the people giving him the adulation. He just wants the adulation.
Mm-hmm.
And in this episode, like, we find out, like, that was something that Vought hired, like, a fleet of psychologists to kind of, like, beat that into
him. Yeah.
Yeah. In an effort to control him, because they said, like, from the moment he was born, he was way too powerful for any of them to, like, control.
Let's talk about Butcher.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, like, I just want to segue, this brings us to, like, the latest episode where, like, Homelander comes out that he's changed. And you can tell he's changed. And and like, his manner, his demeanor, and the fact that by the end of it, he tells the members of the Seven, we're no longer going to be celebrities. We're going to be...
vengeful gods.
Wrathful gods.
Yeah. Let's talk about Butcher.
Yes.
Going out of the last season, we knew that Butcher was dying from his use of Temp V. And he had a short time left. He had passed out, and the doctor said that he had like months left to live. That's it.
Yes.
That's again confirmed. Homelander can like see it, can see the black mass on his head, and says like, ooh, what do you have? A few months? Something like that. Like it's brought up again. We see him having some medical issues and stuff. Like we know he's dying, and it's just a matter of like, okay, when's he going to go? What's going on with him? While all of this is happening, he's having conversations with somebody that's not there.
Well, he's having conversations with Becca.
Yeah.
His deceased wife.
That's eventually, because at first we see him having conversations, but we don't see who he's talking to. And then they reveal that it's Becca, his deceased wife, that he's having conversations with. But then we get something else that's interesting, which is when he's having one of these conversations, we get this close up on his head, and we see this thing that almost looks like a worm moving inside his head.
This worm thing, like, moving through, like, his body at various points.
Yeah. So there's something going on, and there's something else that's implied, because there's a part where he's getting choked out by
Ezekiel.
Who's
like
kind
the
of
Mr.
Mr. Fantastic or
Bible thumping Mr. Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, the stretchy character, the monkey D. Luffy.
Yes.
And he's choking out Butcher.
And
he's about to kill him.
Becca, Becca's telling him, don't be a pussy. Like,
he blacks out and he wakes up and Ezekiel is in pieces on the floor.
Yes.
So it's like, what's going on there?
Yeah, kind of crazy.
In addition to that, he's been talking to an old friend of his named Kessler.
Yeah, an old buddy named Kessler shows up out of the past.
Which really feels to me like he might not be real either.
Well, it's interesting because he shows up. Kessler's played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, by the way. He's this old friend.
Papa Winchester from Supernatural.
He's this old...
like an old war buddy, kind of.
An old war buddy, yeah. He seems to be somebody Butcher worked alongside, for the agency that he's working for the boys. And, I guess, he went away at some point. But suddenly he's back in Butcher's life and he's giving Butcher, all this advice. He's talking to Butcher about, the case and stuff. And, there's all these scenes with Butcher talking to Kessler. But the interesting thing is you never see Kessler in a scene with somebody else or interacting with anybody else but Butcher.
Yeah, Kessler seems to be doing certain things that are actually happening.
Yes.
Intelligence gathering and stuff for Butcher. But that could be Butcher, somebody else that he's getting that information from, or I don't know, but Butcher you never actually see him in a scene with anyone else. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You never see him interact with anybody else.
So it's like it's implying he might not be real.
And he seems to be like everywhere Butcher is at the time.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on with Butcher. There's something going on with him.
Butcher,
with
and
this
as
worm
of
thing
like
in his
the
head.
last
There's something
episode,
going on with Kessler.
And after last episode, Butcher did admit to Huey that in the interim between last season and this season, he did take a shot of like V.
Yeah, and we'll get to why that came up next.
He claims to Huey though that it didn't do anything and it just like shortened his lifespan even more.
Yeah. So that is a segue for us to move on to what's going on with Huey.
Yeah.
So Huey gets a call from his dad, kind of just like ignores it. He's busy doing his own thing. Turns out his dad, Simon Pegg, is who was the basis of Huey, the character in the comics.
Yeah, the comic, yeah.
Had a stroke, is in the hospital. Huey goes to visit his dad. His mom ends up showing up, the one that had abandoned him when he was a child. And so now he's got his dad kind of in a coma and his mom who abandoned him when he was a child. And he's trying to weigh all of that. And she's got, power of attorney over the father instead of Huey. So she has control over his medical decisions that are made for him. Huey decides that he wants to get V so that he can save his dad because he could inject it in his dad. He doesn't know what's going to happen if his dad will get powers or not, but it might heal him. And so he goes to A-Train to have A-Train get him the V and kind of uses the guilt that he has over A-Train because as we've seen, A-Train, as much as he is played off in the first season as being just completely didn't give a shit about anybody but himself, that he actually, does kind of weigh on him the shit that he's done.
Yeah.
A-Train's like on the verge of turning,
Yeah, it seems like, stuff is weighing on him even more, especially as things in the 7 are not getting any better for him.
Yeah. So Huey kind of guilts A-Train into getting him V, and A-Train does it. He comes through with it. Huey's gonna do it. Butcher's tells him, this is how we found out that Butcher had tried V, Butcher tells him,
because Butcher finds out.
This never works out. This is a bad idea. This is gonna go horribly wrong. This. And is giving Huey good advice to avoid doing that. Of course, Huey shows up at the hospital with the V, almost gives it to his dad and decides that he can't do it. Yeah, but his mom ends up doing it.
Yeah.
His mom ends up giving his dad the V, and
his dad
wakes up
almost immediately.
And predictably, things go horribly, horribly wrong. He wakes up, but it's like he's somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia. He's like coming in and out of the present. Like at times he's furious at his wife because she had just left him and his young child behind, even though Huey's an adult now, and he doesn't recognize Huey. And then he'll have moments of clarity where he's like back in his normal self. All of that combined with him having an ability now.
Phasing powers. Yeah. You can phase through objects.
Which immediately is going horribly wrong as he's accidentally killing just loads of people.
He's actually,
in very graphic ways.
He's phasing into people and killing them because he doesn't know what the hell's happening. Even as he gets a grip, he starts becoming very angry especially Huey's mother and stuff, to the point where he's getting dangerously homicidal.
So things are just not going well and he can't control himself. And so Huey has to put his father down.
Yeah, it's very sad.
I believe is a foreshadowing for something else that's going to be coming up.
Oh,
because what happened is that his dad told him that the reason he didn't give him power of attorney was because he had relayed a story about when Huey was a child and he had a pet and he couldn't let the pet go. And so the pet basically got so sick that it basically exploded.
Yeah, yeah.
And that I don't want to be like that pet. You don't have it in you to do that, and that's fine, but I don't want to be like that. I don't want that to happen to me. And so Huey just has to let go of his dad. He has to be the one to make the choice that he's going to put him down. And that's a turning point for his character, that he's willing to do that, which makes me think that it's foreshadowing for something else, that he's going to have to make a hard choice soon. Maybe related to Butcher. I don't know. Because Butcher is also suffering from something kind of like dementia and also seems to have powers that go out of control without his understanding of it. So I think there might be something going on there, like a parallel being drawn.
Yeah, definitely.
In a way, Butcher's kind of almost like a second father figure to Huey, and Huey's like a little brother figure to Butcher, representing his brother who had killed himself. So it'd be interesting for that to come back into play. Let's talk about your favorite story this season. French Frenchies.
Yeah, Frenchie's. I mean, as we're gonna see, like, so Frenchie is in a new relationship with a man who's like working with the Starlight Foundation, and Frenchie's like involved, but he's kind of detached. And the reason is because this is a person who Frenchie, when he was like working for the Russian mob, he killed his family.
Yeah, he killed this guy's family.
Yeah, and Frenchie is like wrestling with guilt over that.
Colin is the guy. I just found
Colin,
his name on my show notes here.
Yeah, Colin. And Frenchie is wrestling with guilt over this until it reaches the point where he finally like confesses to Colin.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's okay.
I think the thing that doesn't work here is Kimiko and Frenchie's relationship, which was one of the best and most interesting relationships in past seasons. And then they just kind of drop it on us I love you, but this doesn't work.
Yeah, this doesn't work.
Like, what?
And we're just friends. And we're kind of like both going to do our own thing this season.
Which just felt kind of abrupt and out of nowhere and completely
it did feel abrupt,
opposite of what we've seen with their characters before.
Yeah, what it was like, where it was going from like last season. Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. And like the whole thing about like,
I want to clarify that
Frenchie killed this guy's family.
Frenchie being bisexual or on some kind of sexual spectrum isn't the problem at all. That was something that had been established before.
Yeah, we knew this. The problem is the storyline kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, now he's in a relationship with this guy, but like he killed this guy's family and he's like got to struggle with guilt for that. And it's like, okay, but where's that going? Like realistically.
And for some reason, him and Kimiko aren't in a relationship.
He just had himself like arrested, I guess. Like, I don't know. It's just not vibing with me.
Yeah. Kimiko's storyline is similarly kind of uninteresting.
Yeah.
She's kind of running into some people from her past.
Well, she directly ran at some people. She's going after like the organization, like
the terrorist group.
The group. I forget the name of the group, but she's going after the group that made her the way she is and like held her captive and stuff. Like she's going after them, and she runs into like another woman who's clearly been victimized like her, but she clearly holds like great animosity for like Kimiko.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of an uninteresting story.
Yeah,
it's like I thought we got. We got enough out of that group with like the stuff with her brother in season 3, or 2.
Right, yeah. So you see a theme forming for the season, right? Yeah, it's everybody's reckoning with their past.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that, Frenchie and his past, and the Butcher seeing Becca, and also like seeing this other person from his past.
The Deep continuing to try to have relationships with an octopus, even after eating his last octopus boyfriend.
Right. The Deep finding, being very excited by newfound sexual relationships with Sage after she's had a lobotomy, because she would not want anything to do with him in her right mind.
That's just kind of hilarious, because he showed up to confront her.
Yeah.
And then she's like suddenly all agreeable and like cool, and he's like, oh man, why are you so cool all of a sudden and shit like that. And then you pan to the side and you see like a fucking lobotomy tool sitting on the table.
Yeah. That's why she's watching like trash reality television and eating like junk food,
So basically like the Deep is on the level of the world's smartest person after a lobotomy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of a funny way of making fun of the Deep even further. But, so that's what's going on there. Sister Sage not able to deal with her intelligence and going that route as just a way of escaping temporarily.
They bring another character into the 7, Firecracker. This is Sage's idea.
This is tied heavily to Starlight's story.
And the reason she's recruited by Sage for the 7 is because she has history with Starlight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to push Starlight to the edge. They set up a whole plot for Starlight to beat up Firecracker, this new character, so that it's all on camera, so that she looks horrible.
Again, this is another, reckoning with her past, because, like Sage's, not Sage, Firecracker's beef with Starlight comes from, like
her days on the pageant trail.
Their pageant days, yeah, where Starlight was very, very, very cruel to her because, she was in a very competitive environment and was being pressured by her mother to be competitive. And that's how it manifested at that time.
Yes. Let's talk about Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, yeah, the best cameo of the season, right?
That was in what, like episode 2 or 3? I think it was episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2. it opens with like A-Train and Will Ferrell, and it's very clearly like, it's the A-Train movie that Vought is shooting. It's the one that they discussed at the end of season 3, like after like A-Train got the new heart transplant.
It's basically
like,
Blindside.
Yeah, where like, basically Ashley was telling him that you're gonna do like this offensively like racist movie. And it's the Blindside, because like it's Will Smith being like a white savior to like
Will Ferrell.
A-Train. Yeah, Will Ferrell being a white savior to A-Train.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it was Will Smith, he'd be slapping A-Train.
Yeah.
It's Will Ferrell, being like
Brain
the total
fart.
like Blindside or Precious or any of those kind of white savior movies figure for A-Train. And you see that ties into A-Train's story because, as we mentioned, he's actually like on the verge of turning. Not just because all the stuff going on, but the guilt he's feeling for everything else. He actually makes good with Huey, and Huey actually like acknowledges it. Huey says like, I wasn't going to acknowledge it or something. I was going to just let you stew in it, but no, man, I forgive you when A-Train gives him the V. And, Butcher's like, what the fuck's that? You gonna forgive him? And Huey's like, I just don't want to be mad anymore.
Yeah. And he sees an opportunity. He wants to turn A-Train.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, A-Train sent over some documents to about what's going on within Vought, within the Seven. And that becomes a plot point because Homelander realizes there's been a leak and they're like running around looking for the leaker. And it's implied that like Sage has already figured out that it was A-Train. But she doesn't say it. She doesn't sell
She
him out.
hints at it. He knows she knows.
Yes.
So let's talk about the last episode here with the farm trip.
Yes, where we get Stan Edgar's return.
Yeah, the boys get Stan Edgar out of jail so that they can try to find this poison that Newman has.
Yeah, this disease.
Yeah, this disease
that we
that was
learned about
in
Gen V. Yeah,
and they want to get that disease. They've said that it won't kill Homelander, which is interesting.
Yeah, they said several times it doesn't have the juice.
Yeah, it won't kill Homelander, but it could kill other
Kills
suits.
pretty much anybody else.
Yeah, and they could go after Newman with it. And that's who they want to go after, but Newman's the one that has it. So they get Stan Edgar out so they could get access to this virus. And they end up going to a barn where a bunch of animals have gotten into the V, including some sheep, and they're fucking brutal. And they've killed basically everybody that was doing these tests for Newman.
Yeah.
And they get there and they encounter Newman, and then they all end up having to work together because they're like going to be killed by these sheep.
Superpowered, homicidal farm animals.
That are like flying in the air and just killing everybody. And they end up having to sacrifice the virus that they have, the only dose of it they have, by putting it into a dead body and feeding it to these sheep.
Yeah.
And ends up working, but around the course, Newman's head scientist, who's the father of her child, goes missing. They only find his leg. The assumption is he's dead, and then we find out at the end, oh no, this is Billy's play.
This is Billy's, Butcher, under the influence of Kessler, which again
might not be real.
might just be a figment of Billy's imagination. Yep, he kidnapped him, and he's gonna have him make a new dose of the virus.
And that pretty much catches us up on the boys.
Yes.
So we'll talk about the boys again next week, but now we're going to move on to House of the Dragon. We're talking about the first 3 episodes. The last season of House of the Dragon ended on a crazy note where one of Rhaenyra's sons was killed by Aemond and his dragon.
Yes.
On accident. Aemond was playing recklessly, trying to scare the guy, trying to scare her son, was being too reckless and ended up killing him.
Yes.
And we saw at the end of the season just her absolute fury as she got the news about it, her heartbreak and fury. And that's where season 2 picks up, where she is just mourning the loss of her son that she's got reports of that he's gone, but they don't even have a body. So she's just in mourning. She's derelict in her duties as queen because she just can't function right now. So Daemon is kind of taking advantage and just, being able to do whatever he wants now, going vengefully forward as his wife/niece is incapable of leading at the moment. And you have this conflict that's brewing up, and you get to see the side with the Greens too, the other side of the family, where you have Alicent like panicking over the fact that now her her son has killed one of, another son here. This is just killing chances at peace. Peace is almost gone now. Like, there's almost no chance at peace now. Like, what's she gonna do? And so everybody's tense. This act has pushed them much closer towards the inevitable war.
Yeah, no, exactly. Everybody's making like very, very dumb decisions, just guided by just passion. It's like, yeah, Damon has like these assassins, attempt to kill Aemond.
Before we get to that, Rhaenyra comes back and says that she wants Aemond. She just wants him either brought to her or killed.
Right.
And as her revenge, it's like her only line of dialogue in the episode, And then it goes back to Damon taking that and running with it. And he
just finds a rat catcher and like
he finds the white worm.
Yeah.
Who was his consort that he used to have, that was like a keeper of secrets type person, not officially, that he had dealt with before. And he finds her and uses her information to figure out how to sneak into King's Landing and who he can approach. And he ends up finding another city guard member, King's Guard member that is sympathetic to him, and a rat catcher who works in the Red Keep.
Yeah, exactly. He finds a King's Guard and a rat catcher
he sends them to assassinate Aemond.
Aemond. They obviously don't do that. They don't find him, so they assassinate a small child instead, like the Queen's son.
Yeah.
Right in front of the Queen. And, that just makes things worse.
Yeah, they kill Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen.
Killing Aemond would have made things better either, but it's just.
They kill Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen, who's a child, and the Greens quickly use that to paint Rhaenyra as a baby murderer, as a kinslayer and a baby murderer. And to get people away from her. And so it's like worst case scenario. It's like she's gonna lose the little support she has now because of this action. That she wanted Aemond, they threw a series of mistakes and miscommunications and stupid choices made by people that shouldn't have made them. Now you have a dead infant.
Yeah, exactly. So basically it's all kinds of dumb things. Like, we get, like, the whole thing, like, with Crispin Cole, like, he comes up with this dumb plot to, like, assassinate Rhaenyra, where he's like, oh, like, this guy on my Kingsguard is, like, a twin of, like, the other guy who's, like, on Rhaenyra's Kingsguard, so I'm going to have him infiltrate, what is it, like, the Red Keep, where, Rhaenyra is?
No, the Red Keep is in King's Landing.
That's right.
Dragonstone.
Yes, Dragonstone. I'm gonna have him, infiltrate Dragonstone, and nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna be able to tell the difference. And it's like, no, that's a stupid. It's like pointed out to him too, like, like, oh, what if, like, the brothers, like, bump into each other? What if, like, somebody sees them coming and then, like, going, at the same time?
I mean, the plan almost works.
It almost works, but, like, again,
Mysaria, the white worm ends
up seeing
recognizing him and seeing him and having just seen him in a different location.
Yes.
Figures it out.
Yeah. It almost works, but it's like, it's a silly, like, cartoon plot that, like, always somebody like Kristen Cole would come up with. And it's like, man.
King of the Incels.
Yeah, King of the Incels. And Aegon makes him Hand of the King. He fires his grandfather.
Yeah, Otto Hightower.
Otto Hightower, yes. He fires him and hires Kristen Cole as his hand. And it's like, it's such a dumb decision because this guy is, like, clearly a dumbass. He doesn't know what he's doing.
But Aegon II, who is the current king for the Greens, his son has just been killed and he's vengeful.
Yes.
He's also incredibly stupid. He is not the right person to sit the throne at all. Even amongst the Greens, like, his brother would work better there, even as flawed as he is, as flawed as Aemond is. Aegon is just not suited to be king. He doesn't know what he's doing. There's a lot of stuff he makes promises to the small folk that are coming to him with requests, and then is, like, basically chastised and told, we actually can't do that, and then he has to break the promises.
Yeah. Otto does that. It's interesting. And we're at a place now, like, because of what Damon's did, Damon has had, like, a big fight with Rhaenyra, who obviously did not agree with anything Damon did.
Uh-huh.
And so Damon's taken off. We learned in the latest episode where he's taken off to, and
he's heading towards an old location from Game of Thrones that we all know,
Harrenhal.
Harrenhal.
Very
I actually
popular
really like the way they did Harrenhal in House of the Dragon, because in Game of Thrones, they played up the idea of it being like haunted.
Yes.
They were like, Harrenhal is like haunted. Nobody wants that castle and stuff like that. Ever since, Aegon the Conqueror like burned it.
It. Yeah, exactly.
That it's been haunted and it's horrible and all stuff. And they've just kind of played at the idea of it in Game of Thrones, but they never really like made it kind of spooky or something.
When we see like Daemon like wandering around like with his sword out, it looks genuinely creepy and haunted. Like skeletons are gonna like jump up.
Yeah, it's very.
It looks like a dungeon in an RPG. Yeah, they really play into it. I love the visuals of that scene of like it's raining too, and so like like the rain pounding on like the metal of Daemon's armor, dripping off of it. Such a great setup scene in like terms of atmosphere and stuff. And the funny thing is like Daemon the whole time is like expecting resistance, and then when he finally encounters the inhabitants of Harrenhal, they are absolutely not hostile whatsoever.
Yeah, they're like, he's like, I'm claiming Harrenhal, and they're like, that seems to be the case.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. In fact, they're for him.
Yeah.
The head of it, like, immediately
Simon
declares
Strong.
his. Yeah.
He's, he is, I guess, the uncle, or the great uncle of, Rhaenyra's children.
Yes. So he immediately, pledges his allegiance to Rhaenyra.
Yeah. They're like, what about the head of your house who's pledged allegiance to the Green? And they're like, oh, you mean the guy who, murdered my brother and my nephew?
Right. Daemon, is both incredulous and still mistrusting. He accuses them of trying to poison him when they serve him food. He just can't believe that, there's a part of it he just can't accept that, it was this easy, that there wasn't a fight.
Mm-hmm. So that's what Daemon's up to now. Daemon's holding Harrenhal.
The funny thing is, at the same time, Kristen Cole, being the new hand of the king, he suggested he takes a group of men out and they ride to Harrenhal to take it.
And everybody has to dissuade the king from flying out on his dragon.
Yes, everybody has to,
like a fucking moron.
Yeah, he's like, oh, and I'll go on my dragon. It's like, are you an idiot? You're the king. If you die, then, yeah.
So, Kristen Cole is
heading on
out.
Until Larys talks him out of it.
Kristen Cole heads out towards there with Alicent's brother, who we'd mentioned, the actor, is going to be in Sandman
just been introduced. 2. Yeah.
They're heading out, and Alicent's brother is a real, piece of shit lordling.
Yep, not surprised.
Just a spoiled brat who thinks too highly of himself, and Kristen Cole
that's typical of most lordlings.
Yeah. And that is Kristen Cole having to deal with that, and it's like, poor Kristen Cole.
Yeah, poor guy. I really feel for him. They're scouted by one of Rhaenyra's daughters.
No, it's Daemon's daughter.
It's Daemon's daughter, that's right.
Yeah. I believe that is Baela Targaryen.
Baela, yeah, that's it. Baela, who's on her dragon, she finds them. She's not very sneaky though. They see her coming and they rush for cover, but her objective isn't to kill them right there anyway, so.
Yeah, she wasn't supposed to even engage as much as she did.
Right,
she was supposed to, observe information, and she couldn't really engage, so she hailed back, and they ended up getting kind of away. They're headed towards Harrenhal to try to take Harrenhal. Daemon's in Harrenhal, with his dragon, wondering what the fuck's going on, and he starts having delusions. He has a vision of Rhaenyra, but it's the old Rhaenyra, the child Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
That he knew before.
And she's standing over the body of Jaehaerys, who he had just, had killed.
Yeah, stitching his head back onto his body.
Yes.
And she's talking about having to clean up his messes.
Yeah.
And
maybe a little bit of remorse there from Daemon.
And then we have this mysterious girl in Harrenhal.
Yeah.
Who yells out to Daemon that he's gonna die there.
Yeah. He says he'll die in Harrenhal. Just what we love, strange women yelling, ominous omens at you.
So that's what's been going on with Daemon. That's what's been going on with, Kristen Cole, who, by the way, is just fucking Alicent now, left and right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. to the point where,
he's been derelict in his duty on several occasions because he's too busy fucking
a big reason Jaehaerys is dead is because he was not, attending to his proper duties.
Yeah.
There was nobody guarding the Queen's chamber.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
We should talk about the scene that's commonly referred to as Cheese and Blood.
Cheese and Blood.
Cheese and Blood. Cheese is the rat catcher and Blood is the knight.
Right.
And they kill the infant. That scene really felt like a video game to me.
Really? Oh, yeah, you were telling me about this. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it felt like a mission,
a
stealth mission in a video game.
Right, how they were sneaking into, and I guess like the way like the camera was moving through some of the scenes.
Yeah.
Like it was like they're going through the main hall where like Aegon is like, has like all these people like entertaining him.
Bunch of sycophants.
Yeah,
telling him how great he is and laughing at all of his jokes.
Right. And then like for the most part, like there's nobody else around,
Yeah. And they just go and slip by, and it's like a stealth mission. They slip by and they do that. I just thought that was like a really cool scene.
Yeah. It was a really cool
another
scene, like the way it was shot and stuff.
And we got another stealthy scene to end off episode 3, which is we got to see Rhaenyra heading back into the Red Keep, or not the Red Keep, but the Sept, I believe there. Whatever the church is.
Sept of Baelor, I think it's called.
I believe that's it. She's going there to talk to Alicent to try to find out. She comes to terms after Jaehaerys is accidentally killed and everything, and she gets counsel.
Rhaenyra is like, she's convinced that, Alicent doesn't want a bloody war any more than she does, and that, she could be reasoned with.
This is on the counsel of her aunt, who says, Alicent is not the type that she's struggling to be heard just as you're struggling to be heard. And so if there's any two people that are looking for peace, it's the two of you, so you should try to reach out to her. She ends up sneaking in
as a nun
and ends up confronting Alicent, pulls a knife on her to say, like, you're gonna listen to me. If you try to yell out, for help, I'll kill you. But let's talk about this.
Well, they have a conversation, which revolves mostly around Aegon's legitimacy as king, which Alicent, insists that she's telling the truth about, what Rhaenyra's father said, until it comes out, the words that he said.
The prince who was promised.
The prince who was promised. That's when Rhaenyra realizes that Alicent mistook something else for, that Alicent is mistaken.
So that's a great moment, because we get to see the look on Alicent's face when she realizes she's a fucking moron that caused all this.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, Alicent immediately, doubles down and says, no, she understood correctly, and no progress is made at that point. She kind of just goes off and,
Well, the one thing that did happen from all of that is Rhaenyra now understands the situation she's in.
Yes.
She now knows why Alicent betrayed her. She now knows that Alicent will not see reason, that Alicent thinks it's too late, because it is too late,
Yeah.
The actions that they've done because of this, Alicent doesn't have, really any power. She thinks she does, but
It's interesting, yeah, because, Alicent is just kind of, what, she's just kind of
she's screaming, listen to me!
Yeah.
Nobody's listening to her.
Nobody's listening to her. She doesn't have, she is not Cersei. That's for sure. Cersei, maintained power and influence in her court, even as her son sat the throne. Alicent does not do that. She is kind of she's kind of like a captive in that she can't even exert any influence over her own son.
Mm-hmm.
Very different type of person. She doesn't have the temperament for it.
Yeah. So
is a thing. Yeah.
She realizes at that point, oh, we could push for peace. Oh shit, no one's going to listen to me.
Right.
Everybody was manipulating. When she realizes basically that when she spoke of the king's final words and her interpretation of it, that everybody jumped to action, but it wasn't because of what she was saying. It was just an excuse. Oh, we can use this as an excuse, so let's put this in action. And that's what she realizes, I think, more than anything else. That, they were never listening to her. They just used that excuse because she put herself into the position to think, how can I resolve this, and realize she can't.
Yeah.
If she goes to her father's going to go, yeah, so what?
Yeah.
Your son's sitting the crown. Now, you go to the son, he's going to go, well, I'm king.
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn that over, She goes to Aemon with it, and she's going to say, if anything, he might plot to take over the throne for himself. There's no beneficial move she can make now. She realizes that she can't push for peace. It's just not going to work.
Right.
And that's like the first time I think that she actually realized that, because all the cards kind of got laid out in front of her. And then it's like, okay, she realized how powerless she was in the situation, that nothing's going to happen. And so she takes off and says, it's too late. It's not going to work. And Rhaenyra, you see the look in her face, realizing this isn't going to work. I'm not going to be able to get Alicent over. I'm not going to be able to pursue peace. This is going to go to war. And so it's kind of like a moment of acceptance, I think, more than anything else.
It's like the gears are already turning. You can't turn them off.
Mm-hmm.
They have to embrace destiny.
Yeah. So that's what's making it interesting, because like, where are we going to go now? Like, what's the next episode of this show is called The Dance of the Dragons.
Yeah.
Which is what the war was called.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next episode for sure after this one, because this last episode was a builder episode. It was a slower episode. I was just kind of like, setting pieces on the board.
Yeah, and now it seems like shit's about to hit the fan.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. Anything else to mention about House of the Dragon?
I think we covered all the major points.
Yeah. All right. So next week we're going to be talking about episode 4 of House of the Dragon, as well as episode, I believe, 6 of The Boys. So stay tuned for that. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter. I am at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.com. If you go to our website and go to a Container Store for any of the podcast episodes and scroll down to the bottom paragraph, you'll find all of our relevant links to our RSS feed, our SoundCloud page, everything. It's all there, so check that out. You can also subscribe to this podcast through your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcast or Pocket Cast, and the entire backlog of our podcast, as well as additional content, is available on our YouTube channel, so check that out as well. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.